So just a disclaimer before this one starts, I'm still having some issues with my recording software OBS, and on this occasion it didn't capture any game audio. But since it's the final race of the season in this series, I still wanted to get this video out. So hope you still enjoy, even though it is a bit quieter than would be ideal. Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new video here today for the fourth and final round of the Motorsport Ireland F4 series, and today we are in Okayama in Japan. And in my last video, which was just a normal F3 race at Portimao, which if you haven't seen it, make sure you go and give it a watch. But you would have heard that for round 3 in Lebanon, I unfortunately had all my footage from that race corrupted, which really was probably a good thing. So we're just going to have a look at the results from those two races now. And as you can see here in race 1, we finished in 8th place, last of the finishers, over a minute behind the winner of that race. And then in race 2, it didn't go too much better, finishing P6, the last person on the lead lap. The only cars behind us either DNF'd or many laps down. So definitely wasn't the best round for us, just never got in any way comfortable with the track, unfortunately, but still, because of the low grids, we managed to pick up a few points. And that means that in the standings going into this final round, we are in 6th place with 50 points, just 5 points behind Campto in 5th, but he is a very quick driver. But for this last round, I think my goal is going to be to try and get into the top 5, and it's going to be tough, but I feel like my pace is a bit better at this track than it has been in a few of the previous rounds, so see what we can do and kind of hope for the best. But looking forward now to the race that is ahead of us, we're coming across the line to finish our first flying lap in qualifying. We're going to set a 1:29.7 that puts us provisionally in 3rd place. So not a bad banker lap there. As now on our second flying lap into the hairpin, unfortunately we're going to just lose the back end, carrying a bit too much speed there. So that lap is ruined now, so just going to take it nice and handy, cool off the tyres as we now go for one final flying lap in qualifying for this championship. So heading into turn 1, I was braking just before the blue cone on the right hand side there, down 2 gears into 3rd. It's important to try and get a good exit here, run out to the left hand side of the track, which we don't really do. Then back to the right to open up this left hander of turn 2. Carry as much speed as you can, run onto the curb on the exit. Through these two flat out kinks now into a heavy braking zone, braking just before the 50-meter board, trying to get to the apex, which we don't, and then try and get on the power early and carry the speed and let the car wash out to the left hand side, which is the best way to take that turn in this version of the track. As we head down the longest straight on this track now, picking our braking point between the 50-meter board and the marshal post there, down to 2nd gear, making sure to try and not lock up, which is very easy to do at that hairpin, on the power early then, and into the trickiest part of the track for me. I was never really able to get it right, but I seem to get pretty okay at this occasion, as we're now into the final sector of the lap. Into 2 hairpins now, the first one here, again down into 2nd gear. On the power nice and early, quickly up to 3rd before back down into 2nd for the right hand hairpin. On the power nice and early again, making sure to not lose the back end, flat out through the 2nd to last corner. Picking a tricky braking point for the final turn, want to carry the speed but make sure not to lose the back end, which I did a lot in practice. As we now come down to finish the final lap of qualifying, we crossed the line, we set a 1:29.4, so about a 2.5 improvement. And as you can see here, that put us in P4, about 4 tenths off pole, but our best qualifying session of the season. So we're going to start the feature race, or race 1, from the 2nd row of the grid, and hopefully we can try and get a good result. So as we sit here now waiting for the red lights to come on for the 2nd last race of the season, the red lights go out and we don't get a great start here. We're losing ground to the cars ahead, and you can see in the mirror that Teo, who started behind us, managed to get alongside us into turn 1, and I was a bit cautious there on cold tyres, and he managed just to send it and carry the momentum around the outside. So we dropped 1 place on the opening corner of this lap, and now just going to try and hopefully hold position here. And I know that the cars that are ahead of me are pretty much they've been quicker than me all season, and there's a few cars behind who are definitely at least on the same pace level as me, if not even quicker. As we're heading down the back straight now, we've already starting on lap one as James Egan, championship leader, he breaks early into the hairpin, and I wasn't going to try and go for a move there, but with him braking so much earlier than my braking zone, I managed to send it around the outside. But through turn 7 here, we're going to lose the back end on cold tyres. Luckily, we don't spin out, but you could see in the mirror there that James really had to check up to not run into the back of us. We're side by side into turn 8, the first hairpin here, but that's going to give us the inside for turn 9 of Hobbs, and we're going to manage to hold on to that position for now. But looking in the mirror, you can see that because of that mistake, all the cars behind are after bunching up as through the second to last corner there. Luckily for us, James backed out, us having the inside line, so we're able to keep that position there. So we lost one spot on lap 1 to Theo. We gained it back then on James. But if you look in the mirror there, you can see Aaron or Tina Curtis. I'm not really sure which it is, to be honest. It's Aaron in iRacing, it's Tina everywhere else. They went for a move on James into turn 1, and it looked like they were very close to hitting us on the entry into that corner as they went for that move, but luckily they didn't. And as we go into turn 4, the run onto the back straight, they got very close once again, and I was looking in the mirror and looking at the relative, and I thought they were a bit far behind to warrant any kind of defence into the hairpins, especially so early on in the race. But into the hairpin off turn 5, they go for a move, and yeah, not really much more to say about that. We make contact, and you're going to see now in the text on screen that we do get damage from that, and we're now going to get the black and orange flag to come in and repair that damage, which we're going to do. But I feel like that move, they were never going to make the corner. It looked like they were going wide even without the contact that we made, and if anything, I helped slow them down into that turn, as in the pits to repair that damage. We overshoot our pit box after a reverse back, but luckily fast repairs are enabled, so we managed to get the damage repaired nice and swiftly, but now we're over 20 seconds behind the cars ahead, and really not much else happened this race. A few laps later, you can see on the relative there in the bottom left, Camto, he must have had some kind of an incident and meant that he had to pit as well. So we get a position back there up to 6th. Then a couple of laps later, we're all by ourselves. So we have a bit of a spin just to keep ourselves entertained. But it doesn't really make any difference to our race at this stage. But if you look at the screen now, you might be able to notice that it keeps freezing every couple of seconds. And it's a lot more noticeable when I'm driving, and even with sound, because the sound keeps cutting out as well. And this is an issue that started happening for me a couple of weeks ago, and it happens every now and again. So if anybody has any idea why that's happening or how to fix it, please leave a comment, because it's starting to drive me a bit mad now, especially when it's happening during races. But now going to have our final bit of entertainment for this race as we go for yet another spin into the hairpin. And yeah, it just kind of sums up our race now. We're going to finish in P6. Luckily, Camto wasn't able to catch up on us, even with those few mistakes. And after that lap 2 incident, we weren't going to be able to gain any other positions in this race. So definitely one to forget. But yeah, P6 it was, over 45 seconds behind the winner, who was Jeff Richardson, with James Egan in second. So the two drivers fighting for the championship, finishing 1-2 in this race. So very exciting championship fight going down to the final race. So after a quick PC restart to fix those freezing issues, we wait for the lights for the final race of the season from P2 on the grid. The lights go out, and compared to Campo ahead, we get a pretty bad start. Seemed pretty even to the cars behind, but into turn 1, Fabrizio in the orange car looks down the inside, and once again we're being very cautious on the opening lap. We have the inside for turn 2, we make a big contact with Fabrizio. He manages to take the outside line. I thought he would have had more momentum there, but leave the space through these two kinks, and now into the hairpin off turn 4. Fabrizio, he brakes a bit too late, he locks up, and we make contact once again in the opening stages of a race here at Okiam. And We get front wing damage on this occasion, but we're not going to pit to repair this damage. It's not very serious. We're going to have a look now. You can see the state that the wing was in, but we're coming now past the pit entry on the end of lap 1 and we're going to stay out. I felt like we'd lose more time by pitting and repairing that damage than we would by staying out with the damage. So going to be a pretty lonely last race of the season as we start the final lap. David ahead of us on the track, about 6 seconds ahead. He had a few issues himself, I think, and then James Egan was about 16 seconds up the road, so we would have lost about 25 to 30 with pitting, so definitely the better option to stay out on this occasion, but still not close to having any kind of entertainment or fun on this last race. And as I said there, James, who's in 5th, he was leading the championship going into this final round, but it looks like, unfortunately for him, he's going to miss out on the title for this season. But all in all, this championship, it was nice to take part in an official Motorsport Ireland championship, but overall, pretty disappointed with my performance across the championship. It seemed to start out pretty well in Oschersleben. We managed to get a podium in P2 in the second race there and had good pace in the first race, but Snetterton and Lebanon just wasn't comfortable with the track, didn't put in enough practice and had disappointing results there. And then here today at Okiana, felt like I was pretty okay on pace, but then incidents had other ideas. And my aim going into this season was to finish in the top 5. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to do that, but managed to get a lot more comfortable in the F4 car. Had a few good battles and a few good races. But we come across the line to finish the final race in last place as our champion, Richardson, does donuts on the start-finish line. So it was 30 seconds off the winner then in the end, which was Campto, who was the driver ahead of us in the standings at the start of this round. So definitely didn't have any chance of reaching our target on that. And speaking of the standings, these aren't the official ones because they weren't available and I want to get this video out, but providing there's no penalties from this race, Leo Richardson, as I said, wins the championship, 14 points ahead of James Egan in 2nd, and we finished in 6th place, outside of the top 5 where we wanted to be, where David Ward and Campto both finished on 85 points, so I'm not sure how that's being decided on who finishes ahead there, but it's not going to be us anyway. But that's it for this video and for this championship. I am planning on doing more lead racing in the near future, so should have a few videos on that as well. But until next time, thanks for watching. See you then.